High stakes on Capitol Hill and Kane Whitworth here in Los Angeles, and that is our big story today. The Senate unveiling a nearly $120 billion bipartisan bill. GOP leadership, however, saying it is dead on arrival in the House. I'll speak with our political director, Rick Klein, about the urgent negotiations that are underway between a divided Congress in Washington. Also in our spotlight, the health news rocking the royal family. King Charles diagnosed with cancer. What we're learning about his condition. Of course, we begin here with our big story. Senate leadership unveiling that $118 billion national security package, and it includes funding for Ukraine, funding for Israel, and of course, new restrictions to help slow the flow of migrants over the southern border. Now, this is a bipartisan piece of legislation, but GOP House Majority Leader Steve Scalise says the legislation will not even be brought up for a vote in the House, leaving this bill, quote, dead on arrival. So will Congress be able to get anything done in this election year? We turn now to our ABC News political director, Rick Klein, to dig into this issue. So, Rick, thank you so much for joining us here. And first off, you know, despite what Democrats view as some concessions here, Republicans say this bill does not go far enough in terms of border security. And Speaker Johnson noted a couple things today in the hallway there. He said, you know, he would have liked to have seen something in terms of a border wall. He also noted the Remain in Mexico policy needed to be involved in along with some other things. So, Rick, do you think that they could have crafted a bill that House Republicans would have supported it, or were they going to say no to anything?
The answer is no. There was no way that it turns out this was going to work, because the goalposts have moved throughout. Specifically, and even Senate Republicans are saying this is what Speaker Johnson said he wanted. This is what House Republicans said they wanted. They said they wanted tough new border security measures. Here they know this divided government. The House Republicans know that. And here the senators were working on this for weeks and weeks and weeks to try to tie in all these disparate issues, Ukraine funding, Israel funding, border security. All of these things were coming together. And they did the work of compromise. They said they even invited Speaker Johnson into the negotiations, and he declined to be part of it. Speaker Johnson knows he's got that narrowest of majorities, and he also knows that Donald Trump is looming large. And I don't think there was any potential bill that House Republicans would have been part of. I think it's very clear now there was no piece of legislation that could actually functionally pass the Senate or get signed into law by Biden that House Republicans would sign off on here, because they got a lot of what they wanted, and they're still saying no.
Rick, in your opinion, do you think that this is a bit of a timing issue, if you will? I mean, trying to pass legislation like this in an election year, do you think Republicans would rather instead just sort of highlight some of the problems that they're having at the border right now to try and get a Republican in the White House?
That's certainly what it appears to be, Kane. And this same kind of timing issue, I'll tell you, I've been covering this issue for now almost 2 decades, and it seems to always happen where the House will pass something, but the Senate blocks it, or the Senate passes something and the House doesn't take it up, or you have a contender for the White House who isn't supportive. I'll tell you what is unusual about this is that here in early February, before there's even a sealed Republican nomination, Donald Trump appears to be calling the shots. And for him to come out and say that this is a bad deal for Republicans has been enough to essentially seal its fate before it was even unveiled to the public. There really wasn't any drama around this. Now there's questions about whether it could even pass in the Senate despite the fact that the Senate Minority Leader and Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer are working together, some of the most conservative Republicans with some of the most liberal Democrats. The fact that all of that is now in peril, that to me is a marked difference. There's always political considerations, but the power and the influence of Trump, who really just by saying the word this time appears to have scuttled any real opportunity for this to pass, that's novel.
Right, as he attempts to promise a better bill if he were to, you know, win president, I guess. And also, let's talk about Senator James Lankford and Kristen Sinema. These were 2 of the senators that drafted this bill. How are they reacting to the news that's coming out of the House right now?
Yeah, they feel burned by it. I mean, look, first, they're not giving up hope. They're hoping that cooler heads can prevail once people look at this. But the point from Senator Lankford in particular, who's, again, a conservative Republican from Oklahoma, he went out there and he campaigned with the endorsement of Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is saying, I never even endorsed him. That's a lie. That isn't true. But what he is saying, rightfully, Lankford is saying that, look, this is exactly the kind of deal that I was empowered to try to cut. And Republicans, I am a conservative Republican, he says, and I'm out there fighting this for you, and now having my knees cut out from under me. It is a bitter disappointment to him. Again, they're not giving up hope.
And Rick, quickly, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, he supports this legislation, and we just heard that he's having some closed-door meetings with Republicans right now. Does he have enough sway to convince anyone to support this?
maybe in the Senate, but there's no House members that are going to take their marching orders from Mitch McConnell. They will from Donald Trump, and they are mindful of the slim margins of the House. So I don't think McConnell's influence behind the scenes or out in front of the cameras or anywhere else is going to make a difference in convincing House Republicans.
All right, Rick Klein, thank you so much for your insight. As always, we appreciate it. And now I want to bring our big story here to our panel. So joining us today is our ABC News contributor and SiriusXM radio host, Mike Muse, our political contributor and senior editor of The Dispatch, Sarah Isker, Democratic strategist, Linsey Johnson, and our ABC News contributing political correspondent, Rachel Bade. Thank you all so much for being here with us. And so, Mike, let's start here with you, actually. We also got word today that the Border Patrol Union came out supporting this legislation. They're saying it's not perfect, but they said it's a step in the right direction and far better than the status quo. Do you think an endorsement like that could help push this legislation over the line?
No, in normal times, I would say support from the border union would absolutely help push this across to the finish line. But what's interesting is the conversation you just had with Rick Klein discussing former President Trump's hold that he has on the GOP. This bipartisan deal is very pro-conservative immigration to things that they've been asking for. So the mere fact that they don't want to have this in motion and the House is already saying that it's dead on arrival, then that automatically signals just the type of hold that he has. In particular, you think about Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott in Texas has border cities. It's a border state. He has a sense of urgency by sending migrants up north to kind of help alleviate the pain points that they have at the southern border. If this is the case, if this is a sense of urgency, one would think that Governor Abbott, in conjunction with the Border Patrol Union, would work with Speaker Johnson in order to get this legislation passed through. That is an indicator of how much control former President Trump still has on the GOP, that they're willing to wait at least another year before acting any legislation, holding on to the fact if he was to win president.
And another year could be quick. Sarah, I'd love for you to weigh in on that. I mean, we've seen Republicans try to get something done on immigration for decades. And now, is it possible they're passing on an opportunity here? Could this come back to bite them? I mean, is anyone going to listen to Trump if he does, in fact, become president?
So this is the problem for Republicans. They certainly see this as a political advantage that they have heading into the 2024 election, no question. The problem, though, is even if Donald Trump wins, it's not clear to me what advantage they'll have at that point. Will Democrats really be willing to compromise, allowing immigration reform to happen on Donald Trump's watch? Will they get as much as they're being offered now? Or will Democrats say, you know, you kind of screwed us over the first time around here and we're not coming back to the table, in which case this whole thing now, this doesn't get fixed, which is versions of what we've seen happen. Obama had both houses of Congress and he didn't get it done. Trump had both houses. He didn't get it done. And here we are again.
Here we are again. And Linsey, to you, I mean, if Democrats are not able to get this passed and the border remains a problem until November, could this issue cost Biden the election?
Only if we don't play this smart. But I do believe that Democrats will take a hand out of the Republican playbook and spend millions of dollars in talking about this issue, but in a truthful manner, right? The Republican Party spent millions of dollars in the last elections talking about how they were the party that could get a border deal done, that they could do something about the border and immigration. And yet here we are with the opportunity to have bipartisan legislation, and they're listening to their king, Donald Trump, instead of actually doing the work of the American people and governing. So Democrats will be smart enough to use all of this chaos to add to the ads that they need to get supporters to understand who really is willing to work across the aisle and get a comprehensive immigration reform done.
Mike, Sarah, Linsey, and Rachel, our thanks to all of you. This issue isn't going anywhere, and we will continue to cover it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.